Yeah, and that's one of the most appropriate songs for what is going to happen this week. We are in the danger zone to the max. And I always like opening up with the song. I think it's kind of a theme for the week. I think it's kind of cool rather than just walking in and going, "Hey, this is Alpha Traders." um, but welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Um, we're excited that this is going to be a crazy week. A lot of volatility. Should be fun, but you also have to be responsible. So this is our weekly weekly uh, options conference call, and all members get this, including including all the bonus content that we give as well. I wanted to say thank you to everybody that's shown a lot of interest and been asking questions, and just to let you know we are newer service. I've been trading for 9.5 years now. I started off as a passive trader, more so 401k. I had a nine, not even a 9 to 5. It was more like an 8 a.m. to midnight job. So I didn't have a lot of time to actively trade, but I was always learning and getting better. And so about 2 years went by, and I started really getting involved in options, and really getting involved with really investing my money, because it was to the point where you would have this retirement account and you would have no control over it. And that to me was something that I didn't really feel comfortable with, because over time it'll be fine. But I really felt after I learned that I would be able to outpace that. And ultimately I was right. And I don't work that job anymore, because now I, do options and stocks full time. And it's, amongst other things, you always have to make sure you have different avenues of, income in it. Is 2020. But something that I really wanted to do was pass this knowledge on and pass the situations on. The excitement of making trades is one thing, but it's really the excitement of learning and the excitement of getting better every day and having a process and sticking to it and knowing your rules and knowing where things are, so that you can make the most educated decision for yourselves on top of the information that we're giving you. So this is our website. It's pretty simple, straightforward. We weren't trying to make things really hard on you guys. It's you'll be able to see some of the stuff that we actually did. You'll get alerts, but on top of it, you're going to get a lot of educational content that we're building out. So we appreciate everybody that's with us so far. We've done really well. As I expected. I didn't expect not to do well, because the system's been working for me. So, come visit us, alphatraders.com, or Twitter at AlphaTraders Inc. We post stuff on there all the time. And, if you do get the membership, you'll get access to our Discord. You get access to our, the videos, our YouTube channel, private videos. I'll also do a lot of one-on-one with people for free. It's free for members. It's just something I like to do. Again, we're not going to sit there for 9 hours and talk it, but if there's specific questions and things like that, I am always happy to take questions and talk to people one-on-one, and talk through Discord, the actual in our voice, do some screen shares with people, and then you get a lot of live feeds too from us. I get fired up trading. I get fired up, making trades, even when they go bad and they go right. Always try to learn, and I do a lot of live broadcasting. You'll see me in there sharing my screen. You'll see what I see, and you can kind of get a feel for what I'm doing. I don't do it the whole day. I think that's a little much. You're going to get burned out staring at my screen and me just scrolling through everything. Um, but it's a lot of fun, and we'd like to, we'd like you guys to be a part of it. I think for our big launch coming up, we'll be doing 7-day trials. So come, make some money with us. Market. We'll see how after how it works after this presidential election. Personally, a lot of people ask me, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" Um, I get a lot of it. I actually think we're going to do really well with either Biden or Trump. Um, I think the key is the Senate and the House. Where do those go? I think if you're lined up Democratic or you're lined up Republican, whichever that is, the stimulus is going to get passed. People are going to feel better about the economy, and we're going to move forward either way. There's some scenarios where you don't, but even if it stays the way it is, where it's Trump, Democratic House, and Republican Senate, stimulus still gets passed, in my opinion. But it may not be until the next year. So just know that. But I think there's still enough juice in this thing to get us through into December and January, and we'll see. And again, you guys will hear me say this, that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. We can sit here and try to predict, and that's great. And if you get it right, awesome. But we have to humble ourselves to know that we don't know. And I just think that's super important to understand. All right, so we will go into, let me share my screen here. All right. So let me go through the right ones here. There we go. I'm going to start with the Qs. It's really, really interesting. Let's get these right here. The Qs are pretty interesting. It's really an opportunity for us to understand where our numbers are. And numbers in the sense of, where's our line in the sand? Where do we have to go to? Where are we looking at? What are the opportunities that that can arrive from seeing the price action? And again, I'm not personally, I'm not a huge indicator guy. I use them to help make a decision, as a small part to make it a bigger decision. Some people live by them. That's great. Some people live by order flow. That's beautiful. I love order flow. I think it's one of the best ways to see where things go. But for me, it's kind of like we do all of it all together, horizontal. You can go horizontal price action. You can go, just look at straight order flow. You can, say my 200 MA and this whatnot. For me, it's just the whole part of the puzzle. And I like to have all the information before I make a decision. That's just how I am. And if you believe in your one section and it works for you, I applaud you. But for me, I like knowing the multiple outcomes that could come with it. And saying that, the Qs having a tough time here. You had an inverted head and shoulders that the cup that you want to continue and go up failed. So some will say that's a double top. It's not technically a double top, but I guess you could say it was. But this is kind of line in the sand here. If you get 260 to 261, I would err on the side of 261. This is your line in the sand. If the Qs break below this, this is the next area. It literally, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here. It may fall a good bit. There's a volume shelf here. That volume shelf's at about 257. That would be your next area that you would maybe see and say, okay, maybe that's an area that is interesting. I wouldn't play that personally. For for me, it's a little too, there's no hard, support here other than you have a volume shelf, which is great. I love volume shelves. So if you wanted, you could maybe play it, if this breaks and it doesn't reclaim it, you could play puts down to 57, shave half at 59, shave another, if it goes down another dollar, shave another 25%, and then play it to the volume shelf here, and then roll down if it's continued weakness. By that time, the market usually, market likes doing the opposite of what you're in. So they'll probably bounce a little bit, and then it may come back down at that point. And then you probably just want to wait for the bounce up. If this goes in a straight line down, we're in a mini crash, and this better hold, or else it's going to be, you got a gap here, around what, 230, 232, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be a great day if you're in puts, because if it breaks this, you're going down hard. But no, 261's line in the sand. If it gets to 261 and it sits, odds are, depending if this is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that it's going to get a bounce. You're going to get a relief bounce at least to, I would say probably you get the relief to 272, maybe 273, just kind of reclaiming this old, these old horizontal lines here. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm a buyer. Personally, I believe this is a great area to buy. I will, if it meanders around here for a little bit, to me, depending on where we're at, overall market strength, if it's here and people are starting to, the big boys, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, are showing a little bit of relative strength. If you just want to play the indices, this is a great buy. I think it's 261. I do think this is at 269. I do think by Tuesday or Wednesday, you could see this. I don't think it breaks below, but I do really think you could see this. So Monday might be something where we alert puts on just at the very top of the day. Maybe it starts higher, it gets up to 270, 270, 50, and it just bottoms. If that's the case, we might do some 260 puts, or maybe some 260. I have to check the premium, maybe 263s, 264s for Friday. Seeing that this is going to drop into Tuesday. Just keep an eye on it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm just saying be on the lookout. We're going to see how individual names do, how Apple, Amazon, Google, all those names handle, this area here. But I am suspecting, and I want to make clear, it's not that people are selling. This isn't from what I've seen, it's not this overwhelming amount of people just, being bearish and selling off. It's a lot of people de-risking, but there's nobody buying. So I know that sounds very elementary, and I know it sounds very simple, but I don't think so much it's a sell off. I think you have de-riskers, which is normal for this, and you're not going to go anywhere when the VIX is by 40. You're not going up. So I just think it's a lot of the bulls that were there are kind of waiting, and they're saying, hey, once the VIX starts going down a little bit, once we see these lines, like for example, 261 in the Qs, why would I buy something at 269 when I can most likely buy it at 261 because of the volatility of the presidential election, of the volatility of the market just in general since the September, the first week of September, whatever that was, September 3rd. Why would I play this? Why would I try to buy something unless I plan on holding this for 10 years? Why am I buying this? So I think it's just the fact that not a lot of bulls are buying, and they're just waiting because the market was down 2% and the VIX was only up 2% from the day before. So the active bulls are still there. The VIX is telling us the story. As Dr. Joshua, that's the handle. Amazing options trader. I've learned so much from him in the 2 years I've known him. myself. He's in our room. He's not, not there all the time, but he drops a lot of really good knowledge, and he's been really successful options trader for a good 10 years. But you're looking at this, 261's your number. Know it, love it, enjoy it. I'm going to go in backwards. Here, let's just go to the front. We'll call what is. No specific order other than alphabetical here, but Bob is an interesting name. At IPO, earnings, all of these things are happening. I highlighted this area here because this was the old active alley that we were kind of going through, and it broke below that. And for me, I'm not a big BABA fan in terms of the price action of BABA. It's a really slow moving stock that just when you think it's about to go, it fails, and then it does it again to you. It's almost as if BABA is better. You're better off playing puts on BABA constantly, even in a bull area, because it's going to fail so much over the course of time. But BABA, I'm interested in BABA down here on this volume shelf around 290. This is a big area of strength. If it does get down here, might go down into the IRA. I don't think I'm going to alert or even just give options for myself on this. You're better off with BABA holding it for a really long time. It's a great Chinese stock. It's the bellwether Chinese stock. I could see this thing being 500 in 3 to 4 years. So just something to watch out for. Google was the best of FANG in terms of earnings, in terms of price action reaction to it. The one thing that I really respected about Google here is that it respected the fibs extremely well on the daily chart. I think fibs are great when you if you use them correctly and you understand that they're a tool in your tool basket. You don't make decisions based upon it. But it is interesting to see that the fibs are, look exactly where it bounced, right on the 618 daily. It was right there from the local lows to the active highs here. And I really think Google is a strong candidate to show us when FANG is ready to move, and tech in general. It shot up to 1670, 1680. I don't know off the top of my head, but you see it and it's showing strength, but broader market sell-off, this is going to happen. But then it bounced right at 1602. So that tells you that buyers are still here, but we have to know that the market is going to do what it's going to do. If Google sticks at 1600 and it doesn't fall below, to me, any type of relative strength from, up to 1615, that it can run to 1635. A more patient buyer will say, I'm going to wait until 1635, 1638, as I put on there, because I know that it's at least going to get, most likely, if you've retaken half of the body of the candle, you're going to be able to retake to the fib level, in my opinion. That's one of the rules that I like. If you can retake on the daily chart, if you can, in one candle, retake half of the prior day's candle, and you have good momentum and the market's solid, or you're a leading stock, odds are good that you're going to be able to move up to that next fib line. So we'll see how this acts. Below 1600, puts can work. Trend Spider's showing there's a gap right here. So I'm not sure how, I don't know if that's even a thing with it being reclaimed through here. We'll see. This gap would need to be filled. So, puts can work under 1600. We'll see how it goes Monday and Tuesday. If it shows some strength and falls off, we might be able to, on the 1600 break, that's 1602 if you want to get extremely tactical. The 1602 break and not being able to hold, you can get into the 1530 puts tomorrow, and you can get 20 points out of them, and then intraday sell them for 70-80%, maybe even 100% if it really gets down to 1550-ish, because you'll have the time still. It might be a good short. So we'll see. I don't like shorting leaders if earnings were really good, but if the market is super weak and it falls below 1600, I would be interested in for myself doing some weekly puts on there. MELI had quite the run up, as you can see. I mean, this was just from this active sequence, this trend line, beautiful. It bounced, twice. It's such a great company. I love their future outlook from 10 years. I think, again, barring any stock splits, this is going to be a $3,000 stock. But for me, with this run up, it's turning into a head and shoulders pattern. I like knowing what the patterns are and seeing where it goes. I do think this trend line gets tested. I think the anchor VWAP will hold it for a little bit. I do think this trend line gets touched. When that trend line, if it holds, this is an absolute 100% buy. I would not hesitate to alert it. We'll see how the premiums work, because sometimes the premiums on MELI are spread. So it may be better just to buy shares instead of, buying, weekly calls. But we'll see how the premiums work out, and we'll see how far we get down, and we'll see where the market is and what day it is. So if it's Tuesday afternoon and this is down here, I'm a little more willing to take a chance on a stock like MELI to at least give me a bounce to, we'll call it 1200. If this is 1170 something, I can get a bounce to 1200. I did put up on top, I do want to make sure you guys see this. You'll see this grouping here. If it just cuts through it like butter, this is a lot of room down here. You can see a couple levels that might be tough. 1050 psi, 1000 psi, maybe 1015. But if the market, this is a crash, by the way, okay, where we're crashing at this point, then MELI's going to revisit this 200 day at 950 or just above it. I don't think this is going to happen. The doomsday people are out there saying what they want. I don't think this happens. I think this is a great stock, and I don't think people right now see this as a stock that's going to drop 300 points or 250 points in a week. I don't see it. It's going to have to be an absolute crash. I think this is an absolutely good area for MELI. NEO. I mean, look, if there aren't many stocks that have given you an active sequence like NEO has. I didn't put the 8 and 21 day on here, but the 8 and 21 day, they've pretty much been above it the whole time. And it's this riding this active sequence of NEO. I would love to see NEO cool off a little bit. It can either flag here. I think with the market the next 2 days and the VIX going up like it's been, I do think it pulls back. I would love to see it in this white area. Oh, if it gets anywhere close to here, the call spread for December 18th and the straight 33 calls for December 18th, I think are absolutely grand. I think they are a perfect area. And if you want, you could even do maybe 2 weeks out Do the 30 calls or the 29s. They're not that expensive. We're talking about $2, $3, $4. They're not that expensive, and the reward on Neo right now is so high. I've been, just as an IRA perspective, I bought some at 17 down here, following this active sequence, and it flagged and failed. I actually bought some. I thought 17. It was about right here. Was a great area to go, and I've been adding shares ever since. Literally DCAing into Neo. I think Neo will be $100 by in 2 to 3 years. Pinterest. So pins reacted extremely well to earnings, obviously by the gap up. I'll be honest with you, I was super disappointed in myself. I sold my pins at, I think it was 20% up. I don't like playing earnings a lot. I felt like Snap was acting really well. And I was like, and I said to myself, I think pins can roll. I just don't want to risk it. And I probably left about, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 on the table from this right here. I'm super, super disappointed in myself. I was playing it more, conservatively. The market's been tough. It's been choppy. I understand, earnings are an absolute crapshoot. And, I thought about just keeping a couple and just letting them ride or go to zero. And I chose the conservative route because that was the right thing to do. I'm still mad because I left a ton of money on the table. And, as a trader, you're like, sometimes, you can't look at what happened. You have to look at what you did. And 20% is still a win. I didn't lose money. I made money the whole way. And, it is what it is. Moving forward, this gap here is being defended pretty well. If it breaks below 57.71, puts can work to 54.03 and even to 50.64, the bottom of the gap. I do think I'll be very interested to see what Pins does. It's one of the relatively stronger stocks, along with like Neo. I think that if this holds the gap, I do think it tests this gap. Absolutely. With a weak market, the VIX at 40, I think this is tested. I really am interested to see how this falls. If it goes below, this is an area of interest for me. If it breaks this, puts or 100 weekly puts are going to be put on. I'd probably go the 54s. Yeah, probably 54s just to, and they're probably going to be around, $4, maybe $3. Yeah, probably more towards 3. So, you can make 60% on a $3 move down to at least, or even if you just get it to the 236, that's still a solid, you'll get 40, 50% out of that, depending on how slow it is. But if it's a rocket ship down, you'll get 80, 90%. If it's slow, if it steps down, if it's more like this, and then on Tuesday it goes to here, you'll still get 50, 60% out of it. So just be on the lookout. Personally jumped into, I didn't alert it. It was just something that I didn't want to risk other people's, thought processes and capital and all that. I didn't want to risk it. And so I did do the 62 calls for November 18th at about, I think the stock was at 59.75. Just started scaling in. I'll add more as I go down. I do think as the market gets better, Pinterest is going to be one of those that you want to own, because once this breaks and closes above 62, looking at the November 18th, 62 calls, close above 62, opens up 68. As I put, this is clear skies. So any close above 62 is a go. So I just didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to sit here and try to guess bottoms and guess tops and where does it go and how does it go. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be engaged. I wanted to make sure that every time I look at my positions, Pinterest is one of them, and I'm constantly evolving with that. Q's, we already did that. So SE, one of my top 5 holdings in my IRA. I think SE is it's an absolutely great tech company. If you guys don't know, they're Southeast Asia. They have a big, broad customer base. They're growing rapidly, and their year over year is off the charts. I think the growth in it has been so big. I mean, you guys can look at this. It was it shows you that the power of e-commerce and the cloud and all of these things, tech in general. I mean, look at the March lows. It was what, a $50 stock. And now, I mean, it got as high as, I think it was 174, all the way up there. And that just shows you the power. So any company that can exponentially grow like this in such a short time, it tells you that there's a lot of strength in there. And if you haven't noticed, there's not a ton of selling, but look at this. So you have this huge amount of buyers here. This is this volume shelf here, this volume shelf here. A lot of buyers in here from between $50 and $80. A lot of buyers are holding, and I wouldn't be surprised if those buyers continue to hold regardless. This is a big level for SE coming up, the 50-day at 154.29. Big. If this does not hold, you're going to be looking at 135.28, and it might get there quick. I don't think 145 is a huge level. Personally, it might get stopped here if it does break the 50-day, but if it breaks the 50-day, I see people getting out of it. People that bought it here, 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 here on the break are all starting to, break even point and whatnot. So this is I do think this holds. I think the 154.29 holds. If it doesn't, 145 is your next stop. 135 I put on here for a reason. This is this is a leap trade for me if it gets here. Even if it gets down to 140, this area right here, I think SE, I think the world of SE, and I would look at, possibly January leaps for SE, maybe even into March. We'll see how it goes, and I'll kind of let you guys know what I'm thinking as it comes. But I just love SE, and I think it's one of the best companies you can own, especially in IRA. I'll be adding shares for the IRA here, actually all the way down from the 50-day all the way down to here. I plan on holding them for a long time. Shop. Interesting play on Shop. So I bought the Shop December 18th, 1,300 calls. I bought them when the stock was 10. I started buying them at, I think, 1,018. I added some more at 1,012. And then I added some more when it got to 998. So 998 is right in here, right there. Started adding here, finished adding here. I thought that was my make or break. If you guys saw my my chart that I put out, that was my make or break point. I had the position here, everything, and it worked out it worked out way better than I thought it was going to be. I paid about $15.80 for the bottom ones. I think for the top of the line ones, I paid 18. So I think my average cost was about $16.75, we'll call it. Ran up here on the news with TikTok, got to 10, excuse me, 10, right about 1077, 1076, and I sold all the leaps right here. I didn't expect that to happen, and I thought with this run up and the week, with the presidential election, with the VIX rising, I got out of them. I made $13 on each of them. So that was a very nice, that was an extremely nice play. I think it was 67.5%, 68% ultimately off the top of my head. Great trade. And I said to myself, you know what? I'll just take this. There's a lot going on. It's a great trade. I would have probably been a lot better just buying, 2 weeks out or, weeklies even. I forget what day this was. I don't know if it was a Thursday or what, but I didn't want to play weeklies. And I just thought, okay, well, even if Shop hangs out and then drops and then hangs out and then drops again, I'm still going to be in a great position because I'm still sitting on December 18th, all the way over here. So this local Head and Shoulders played out. When this ran up, I thought that the Head and Shoulders it was just a fake Head and Shoulders here. Ultimately, it wasn't. I'm glad I got out here. I didn't get up at the very, very top. I started scaling out at 1050. I think I sold all. It was like 1069, maybe 1068. And the IV was really hot, and it was at its highest level, and I just thought it was a great way to go. So I played puts on Friday. Shop 900 puts got up to 180%. I think I sold it like 120%. I wanted to see if it was going to touch, and worked out really well. This is, I call it, me personally, is an extreme buy zone, meaning that this is a buy. You buy it. You don't ask questions unless the market is 100% tanking and it's Monday and it's a Monday here and it's all the way down here without stopping. You wait and see. And then Tuesday, if it bounces, you buy it. If Tuesday it just keeps going, you don't buy it until you get some support. But 824 would be, wow, how great would that be? I would be in December leaps immediately. This is just for me personally. I would also play puts because the shop is really good to play puts on because it moves calls and puts. It's a great option play because it's moving up and down constantly, and it'll move 20, $30 in a day. And you'll go, dang, did it really move like that? And then, the next day it moves down 10, then the next day it moves 50. So it's a really good stock to catch. I love intraday trading this one because it'll give you 20 points in a couple hours and you sell it and you just wait for the next setup, or you roll into, if you think it's going to go, you just roll a little higher. But down here, 839.40, you have some support. 824 is a 382. You're good. This white box means buy. If it just hangs out here for the next 2 days, and this to me is a buy Wednesday, I will buy more December 18th. I'll probably go closer, maybe the 1100s, possibly the 1150s. If the thesis works and it's correct, it should, if the Qs fall to our, line in the sand, I see this being in play here, this 840, which would be great because we'll play puts on Monday and Tuesday. We will play puts all the way down Monday, Tuesday, and, get out of them probably Tuesday afternoon. So that's shop. SPY, again, the 200-day is coming. 320 is the line for me. Qs, again, the Qs had their own line in the sand. SPYs to me is right here, 320, the 200-day. It's pretty easy. You see this 320, it breaks under. You're gonna see. To me, I think you see 300. I know we have some resistance here from old. Anytime you see a line on my chart like that, that means that it's a very old resistance. I think this slice right to it, right through it. You might get a stop here at 310, but I think you get all the way down to 300. And this means probably that the stock market, we probably have a presidential, Trump isn't giving up. Biden's not giving up. There's something going on. I think this bounces at the 200 at 320. I think if you just play SPYs, you just want to buy the stock, load up. because this is, you look at this, and I highlighted the RSI because you see how hot it was. And then look at this deep decline on it. This is getting like, this thing's ready for a buy. If you're looking at indicators, again, that's why I like just looking at everything. To me, this right here, if this is down here and this is all the way down in the 200s right there, to me, it tells me that on the daily, if it gets to 320, as long as it isn't crashing. Now you have to make sure that you see that. That's why you have to be engaged. That's why one of the rules that we have on the website, on the, in our Discord and in just in our, practice every day, is that you have to be on top of this. You have to feel the market and where it's going, understand the news that's coming out. If, if Tuesday, if Trump wins, the stock market to me is going to go crazy on Wednesday. If it's clear that Trump won, and especially if the Republicans keep the Senate and they take the House, to me, the market will SPY itself. SPX will probably go up, maybe 100 points, 80 to 100, in my opinion. And SPYs, you'll see them be at 320 because I think that's where they get to ultimately Tuesday. You get to 320, you're going to get a $10 move on SPY in one day, and that is a very, 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 very enticing trade for us. That's why we're going to pay attention to the news. Wednesday, I've been saying it, I think Wednesday is a great buying opportunity, unless there's some contention or we don't know who it is or it's super tight, or there has to be some news that comes out. But I think if you're a futures trader, if you're a stock trader, whatever that is, Wednesday morning is an extremely good buy if they don't run it up on you, if they don't run it up on you overnight. I will also be alerting on Tuesday. If it touches my levels, I will risk some capital to get ahead of the game Wednesday. Now, is that the most safe thing to do? No, but as I tell a lot of people like Switch, you'll learn these handles, Switch and Captain and these guys that are in the Discord that have been trading with me for a long time. Scared money doesn't make money, but also if you're not willing to risk anything on good setups and using the information you have and the news, and if you want to do indicators and the order flow, and we'll see where that goes, then you need to go with your thesis. You don't go all in. You don't put your whole account onto that, but you take your 1 to 2 to 3%, and you go, I'm going to put, even if it's $50, I'm going to put $50 on this and see what it is. Now, you won't be playing SPY at 50, but if you have $350 and you have a $5,000 account, you should buy a share. You should buy 2 shares. Do something like that just to be engaged and be able to make that money. Personally, on SPY, I would buy options. They have them, every 2 days. So for me, I'm almost same day expiration on Wednesday for the SPYs. If that's the case, I might go into Friday to give it a little bit of time, but just be on the lookout for it. Square, I still love Square long term. I know this is playing out, and I know it got rejected at the trend line. I understand that. I love Square long term. IRA shares, I'm adding. As soon as it gets under 150, SI 150 for me, there's a little volume shelf here at 150 and to the 200-day. If it falls below that, I'm adding shares to my IRA. I plan on holding them for 10 years, and I don't plan on looking back. And I think it's going to be great. Maybe not 10, maybe 5. Once this bull market is over and we go, all this Fed spending and the deficit catches up with us, we'll get there. If it breaks 150 or this 148 area, puts can work to 134. It has a big steep drop off there. There's not a lot of volume to hold it up. So I could easily see this longs get stopped out here at 148. And that's pretty much the line for all these longs here. If you're still long, if you didn't sell, or if you got long here, got long here, got long at the VWAP, you're looking at that area here. So be on the lookout for Square. Tesla, no man's land. Don't touch it. Tesla went from the greatest active sequence here stock maybe in history, or at least for the last 10 years, to being in no man's land. After the stock split, you had the big sell-off, got all the way down here, you had a big but this is like these moves weren't old Tesla, these were new Tesla. And the new Tesla is it's a lot slower moving, it's a lot more calculated. You get a lot of pull back and go, gap up here, gap down there. It's not if you look in this active sequence, for example, here, you have active sequence, boom, power, stayed above the 8 and 21 day. I don't have them on here, but it did. Boom, another follow through day. So you had buyers here at the top, boom, push through, you had a day 3. You had a little bit of a flag, another active sequence, boom. You had 3, 4, 5 green days in a row. You had a little bit of a wait, back to green day, boom, back up, gap up. Here, another one. And then even here, even though they were red days technically, you never got below that high here. So you felt pretty good about, if you were in a position, if you had the stock or options, whatever that is, you felt pretty good about it. And then you just had this absolute monster move all the way up to 2,500. Of course, weighted, stock split. And you just haven't had that. Now, part of it's the market, part of it is the stock split, part of it is the weight of it. There's been other better plays, but this pennant just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I expect a breakdown. 350 is a great number. 330 is an even better number. There's not a lot of volume in here. I'm going to tell you that right now. Not a lot of volume right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if it got to SI 300. If it does get to 300 over the next 2-3 days, I will be longing it. I'll be buying it into the IRA, into my wife's IRA. The kids, whatever the cash account for the kids, for their schools, all of that 100% is going in here. Because even if it goes down the 200 day, I have no problem holding Tesla at the equivalent of $1,500. I have no problem. And you know what? I'll add more here. And then if we absolutely crash, I'll wait until it finds some support, probably get some down here around, sorry about that, around 250. I have no problem buying Tesla at 1,100, or was that 1,250? No problem. I will continue. It'll never get past here. I don't think you'll ever see this again, where it was, unless we absolutely crash, the market tanks and Tesla goes under. But this is where I'm looking at. If it breaks this pennant here, it's right on the brink of it. Might be going into puts. Premiums are really expensive. So even if you're at 388, say it opens up at 380, the 350s are going to be pretty expensive. So, and again, that's an implied move of 150 points, over the next couple of days, which definitely could happen. So Tesla's more of no play. If it breaks down, might look at puts, but I think there are better plays out there right now. Last one, Zoom. Zoom's, haven't had a lot of issues. This run up was beautiful. It was just absolutely just a power move up. And then it's a power move down into a bull flag, down into the bottom. We'll see if this anchored VWAP holds. If it doesn't hold here, let's put it this way. If it doesn't hold where it's at right now, it's a put right at the beginning of the day tomorrow. And we'll go into the weekly 400s. Because if it is weak here, you can bet your money that 436, 75 is going to be are tested, and might go into 400s and might buy a few. And 400s here, and under this VWAP, there's a lot of space to 373. So might play it to where you make 100%, sell 75% of them. If it's Tuesday and it's at this area, sell 75%, and then where it'll probably at that point, drop under, reclaim, and it might, depending on what happens with the election, it might just sit here or it might pop. And the Zoom's just one of those things where it might just pop off on you and it runs, 50 points in a day, which it can do in a good market. So puts on Zoom, probably looking at the 400s, might do the 430s, might ladder it in. We'll see how it goes. We'll see where the premiums are at. We'll see what pre-market does. But so yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at this week. We can go over a little bit of question and answer here. I have two questions that I had a couple people ask in the Discord room. It was on shop. So they said the question was, I'm playing a $3,000 account. If I try to go into shop leaps, we were talking about shop in here, that's half of my account. I don't feel comfortable, spending 50% of my account on one position. How can I get into these plays that are on the bigger dollar stocks with such a small account? It's a good question. I would suggest one of two things. One, as I've written in the rules of the room, you have to know your tolerance. And the cool thing was that he knew his tolerance. And he's like, that's too much for me. I can't do that, which is fine. I think that's a smart thing. If you're not comfortable doing something or you have emotions attached to what you're doing, you shouldn't do it. And you should just say, I'm not doing it. I'm going to move on to another stock, or I'm going to sit the rest of the day out, go on a bike ride, spend it with my kids, whatever you do, play Fortnite, whatever it is. But for smaller accounts like that, your risk tolerance is the key to everything. If you have a $3,000 account and the shop, the shop premium is, $15.80, we'll call it, you have to understand that if it goes to zero, how do you feel? How do you react? How does it affect your trading? So one thing I'm going to say, if you're a person who can handle some risk, you go into one, literally one, just one. And if you get any type of green, or if you trust us, if you want to, you have to manage your own account, of course, but if you get up 10%, that's we'll call it $500. You need to take that profit. You need to take, and again, I'm not saying real numbers here, but let's talk real numbers. If it's 1580, 10% of that is $1.58. That's $158. That's a good amount of your account. So if you're going to play that, you should take that 10%. And if you feel like the stock's going well, or it looks good still, it's still holding up in the market, it has great news out, you can roll it into a different strike. Maybe you do it at a closer date. Maybe you do the November 18th instead of the December 18th, or maybe you do a lotto. Maybe you roll it, or you sell it, or you roll it, whatever you want to do. Say you sell it and you made $158 and everybody's happy. Well, the good news is that same lotto is going to be, you're going to be able to use some of the profit from that lotto. I mean, you can use some of the profit. Sorry, you can use some of the profit to fund your next buy of it, if you think it's going to continue to go up. If you don't, just take your $158 and go home and be happy. If everybody's happy with that, take your money. Every single time, take your money. But if you still feel like it's going well, you can play a lotto. You can play a little, you have to pay a little bit, for as it gets closer, obviously how much do you really think it's going to go up? But you can play a lotto that's probably cheaper. I can guarantee you it's going to be cheaper. And it's a way riskier play, but you've already offset some of it with your $158 profit. Now it's just based upon risk tolerance. So if you're a little more risky, go ahead and roll and see what happens. If you're not, take your $158, go home, be happy. You had a great day. $158 on a $3,000, trading account is 7%, 6%. Someone can do the math for me off the top of my head. That's a great day. If every hedge fund manager made 6% a day, they would be the most successful hedge manager or fund manager ever. So you kind of have to take it into for what that is. Second one was, I've been having a hard time from a trading standpoint. It seems like no matter what play I do, puts or calls, they seem to fail. I've followed you on a couple of the calls and they were successful, but the two that I put on, they weren't as successful, but I still used some of the principles that you were talking about on other stocks. I think you said other stocks on there. It kind of, what should I do? How do I become an independent trader without having to follow everything that you do? So with that, it takes time. I don't know how long you've been trading. I don't know how much money you've made or lost, or what your account is, or what your risk tolerance is. So sometimes it's really hard to answer those types of questions. But what I would suggest to you is, if you go out on your own, and I'm not saying all the calls we make are going to be successful, because that's false. There's no way that's ever going to happen. But if you do decide to take your own trades, especially if you're a newer trader, do it in very small amounts if you can. Don't be the person that puts 20% of their account in a trade, and this is the first trade they've ever made independently, or even if it's the 50th trade you've ever made independently. Don't be that, unless the market is absolutely running up like it was in August, and you're getting gamma pumps from SoftBank, and that's really the only way. I would just say play 0.5% of your account, maybe 0.25%. Play it on a small trending stock like NEO, JD, AMD. These smaller stocks you can get a feel for. So thanks for everybody for listening to me rant here for a good while, but hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you guys are, if you're not a member yet, you'll come and check us out. Again, it's alphatraders.com, or you can find us on Twitter at Alpha Traders Inc. We'd love to have you guys check it out and see what you think, and hope you guys have a great Sunday, and we'll see you out there in the danger zone. And yes, I am corny like that, and I am 100% going to play it as we go out. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you later.